So yeah, as Laura mentioned, I'm the program director at Hugo House. I curate this kick-ass reading series called Cheap Wine and Poetry and Cheap Beer and Prose, which means I've been to a lot of readings and put on a lot of readings. And whenever I hear a writer say, I'm gonna read something I just wrote, I almost always cringe. But tonight I'm gonna be that writer. I'm gonna read something that I just wrote. It is the opening chapter of a memoir that I'm working on about my personal history with guns and violence. And as Laura mentioned, it started with my salon piece called My Fantasies of Mass Murder, which stirred some shit up on the internet, as you can imagine. If you haven't read it, Google Brian McGuigan Mass Murder, and you'll find it very, very easily. That's probably like the most unflattering search term ever, but you can find it. As far as context for this, the only thing you need to know is, well, does everybody know what a manny is? No. Man, nanny. They're called mannies. It's a portmanteau. So that's going to come up later. So if you hear manny, I'm not talking about the beer. I'm talking about man nannies. I guess that's about it. This thing doesn't really have a title. Gunshots or fireworks? I asked Jamie. Since we moved into our new home 10 months ago, we had posed the question so often it had almost become a game. Seconds before, we heard 6 booms. Must be fireworks, I thought, but July was months ago. It was the end of September, and after 10 p.m. was too late for a child's birthday party, the only other reason I saw fit for M80s. The summer nights were rife with booms, but we never saw anything colorful in the sky. Still, we told ourselves, the neighborhood kids were running through the end of their 4th of July stash. That sounded like gunshots, Jamie said. And we both sprung from the couch where we had been in a DVR dream state, our calm Friday night suddenly not. Neither of us could tell where they came from. We breathed lightly and cocked our ears left, then right, hoping for celebratory whoops or the echo of high fives, something that suggested fun, not gunfire. Noise followed, an indescribable commotion and a screech, then quiet draped over the night. I'll check, I said, and motioned for Jamie to sit down. Relax, my hands urged. I muted the TV and hit the lamp off to temper the glare of my reflection against the glass. Crouching in front of our living room window, I slightly peeled back the blackout curtains. Butterball, her eyes still closed, rattled her tail and murmured a do not disturb in cat talk before I shooed her from the sill. Out front, there was nothing but mosquitoes swirling in the streetlight and the shadows of our rotten tomato plants dancing in the breeze. I shook my head at Jamie as if to say, probably just fireworks, though I wasn't sure if I was convincing her, much less myself. The Colt was close if we needed it. I had recently fished out the case and the boxes of bullets from under the bed and put them on a chest-high shelf in the closet. Sonny was becoming more mobile, handsy, Jamie called him, and hiding the gun was at the top of our ever-evolving baby-proofing list. What about out back? Jamie asked. I hustled to the kitchen on the other side of the house where a window spanning the length of the wall overlooked Othello Park, a 7-acre public space with 2 basketball courts, swings, a jungle gym, a giant 20-foot slide, and a zip line. It was an expectant parent's dream, a place for our little boy to play safely. We both remembered the parks of our childhoods fondly. Jamie's was on a suburban street just a house away from her own, where she and her little brother shot hoops. And mine was Forest Park, a sprawling maze of green, a short walk from 3 apartments I lived in. Here at Othello Park, our memories would become Sonny's, and we could see them all for ourselves without leaving the dinner table. The park and the view of it from the kitchen convinced us to buy the house, despite all the reasons why we shouldn't have. I peeked through the curtains, most of my body behind the adjacent wall. I couldn't see anyone at the park, not even the pack of kids who smoked blunts on the picnic benches. The street was empty too. Cars weren't suspiciously idling in the cul-de-sac that butted up against the alleyway running behind our backyard, where we were sure the neighbors 2 doors down were selling pot, possibly meth, out of a broken down trailer. Fireworks, I was sure now. I went back to the living room, but Jamie was gone. The baby. I shuddered and jolted down the hallway, where Sonny's bedroom door was wide open. Usually, I crept slowly toward his room, trying to avoid the creaky parts of the floor that often woke him. But this time, my feet didn't dodge those spots. I stomped in and found Jamie bent over the crib. "Is he okay?" I whispered. She turned but didn't say anything, and in the dull light, I couldn't tell if something was wrong until she pointed at Sonny's sleeping body, his long arms stretched above his head as if the crib were the scene of its own crime. The smile creasing his pink-hued and chubby mug, a perfect combination of Jamie's skin tone and my meaty jawline, suggested he didn't suffer any harm. Whatever Sonny dreamed about was far better than what we would whenever we fell asleep. "I'm calling the police," Jamie whispered back. I hated when she called the cops. We argued about it a few times whenever gunshots beat fireworks. "Mind your business," I warned her. "You don't want to start shit with gang members." But Jamie never listened. "The 74 Hoover Crips can suck my lady balls," she joked. She believed the more we called the police, the more they would patrol the area, while I believed the catchphrase, "snitches get stitches." That's how it was where I grew up. People kept their mouths shut when the cops came asking questions and settled problems themselves. "What a sad way to live," Jamie said, and I couldn't deny it. That night, I didn't put up a fight about calling 911. We tiptoed out of the baby's room, and while she dialed, I hopped online looking for more information. The Seattle Police Department Twitter feed hadn't yet been updated, but I had the police scanner website bookmarked. Silence hissed from the speakers with the occasional crackle preceding mostly monotoned male voices reporting criminal activity across the city. "Hi, we think we heard gunshots," Jamie said into her iPhone and then paused. "We're on South Webster and 46th. We're pretty sure the shots came from south of Othello, but we don't know." I shrugged my shoulders at her, and she paused again. "It happened a few minutes ago." Police sirens suddenly rang through the neighborhood. We must not have been the first to call. My skin prickled as I stood right in front of the window and pushed the curtains completely open, knowing it was safe. The patrol car lights rippled from the corner across the park, just beyond the second basketball court on Othello. "Gunshots," I mouthed, and Jamie shook her head as the 911 operator asked her questions. "No, we didn't see a car drive away." Then she paused again. "Thank you." After she hung up, I put my arm around her and we stood side by side, staring out the window exactly as we had the day we set foot in the house. Jamie was 3 months pregnant then and burning to move. The anxiety of impending motherhood was the kindle. "Something we can grow into," she explained was the key criteria for our new home. In her mind, one baby meant 2 eventually, and an 800-foot 2-bedroom bungalow down the street from the power lines wouldn't do. "You can't raise a child beneath these things," our real estate agent May said when she dropped us off after looking at one of many houses. There was the cute fixer we were outbid on, The humongous Victorian, 50 grand out of our price range, and in need of at least twice that in work. The 3-bedroom we liked from the outside and then found mold and jaws of doll heads in the basement. There were others too, mostly in neighborhoods like Othello. About to turn over, May called them, which sounded gentler than gentrification. We found our home combing through listings online after a couple of months of searching. The place had 4 bedrooms and 3 baths on a large lot within walking distance of the light rail station. There was a remodeled basement, a new roof and windows, and 2 wood-burning fireplaces. And of course, the park. How? I asked Jamie when she said the house was on the market for almost a year. There must be something wrong with it. There were a few things. The flooding and subsequent remodel of the basement that put the previous owners in bankruptcy, an overgrown backyard with a wrecked fence from a car driving through it, and a waterlogged tent full of clothes, knockoff Louis Vuitton purses, rims, car radios, and other assorted, presumably stolen electronics pitched beneath the deck. But we ignored it all because we saw ourselves raising our son in the foreclosed home in South Seattle, right by the huge park. I can hang that triangle we have here and ring it when dinner's ready, Jamie said from the deck off the kitchen, beginning to nest before we had even made an offer. Yeah? I said, distracted with picking through the mess in the tent below. Do you think you boys could hear it from the basketball court? A few weeks later, our offer was accepted, and it was time for the inspection. We pulled into the driveway as the inspector scaled a ladder to the roof. May was on the front steps looking worried. I think there was someone in there, she said in a hushed tone before we could say hello. She had opened the door, swore she heard someone downstairs, and decided to wait until we came. I'll go in, I said, and headed to the basement before Jamie could argue. The sliding glass door to the backyard was open, and against it was an old 2x4 spiked with a few rusty nails. I grabbed the piece of wood, the best weapon I had, and walked outside, but no one was there. I continued the manhunt inside, leading with the 2x4 into the den and laundry room. No one was in either. The bedroom was saved for last because the door was shut. I jostled it open and swung the wood, but hit all air. Again, no one was there, although someone had been recently, and I assumed for a while because it smelled like expired milk and old underwear. I walked in and found a dirty blanket spread out on the carpet with a lumpy sweat-brown pillow underneath. Beside the makeshift bed, an ashtray made of cardboard cupped a mostly smoked roach, and beside that, a fresh pair of Nike high tops readied themselves for feet. The matching shoebox was tipped over on its side across from the blanket in the corner of the room, next to a pile of trash, all wrappers from the McDonald's down the street. Behind the trash, I saw myself in the mirrored closet doors, clutching the 2x4 like worn rosary beads. I had to look in the closet, but couldn't find a light anywhere. The room was almost pitch black, except for the hint of sun that fought through the garbage bags taped over the windows. If you're in the closet, it's over, I said before opening the door and discovering I was talking to myself. Then Jamie and May came downstairs. Someone was definitely here, I said, introducing the mess with the sweeping hands of a tired game show host. He left something for us too, Jamie said when she opened the bathroom door. The toilet seat was up, and the accumulation of shit and piss painted the porcelain a color Crayola would never create. Let's go upstairs, May said. Take a look at the kitchen. I stayed downstairs to clean up the mess, but before I could make it to the garbage can, Jamie groaned loudly from somewhere above. Brian, she shouted. Yeah, I shouted back, dropping everything and running upstairs. He pooped up here too, in both bathrooms. We should call the police, May said. I'm sure we can get out on something in the inspection. Don't worry. We should have been worried, but we weren't. Before we signed the papers, the cops were called to the house twice. Once that day, and again when Jamie stopped by and found one of the basement windows broken. The intruder, whom we referred to as our first house guest, had returned. The police came and filed a report, but he was gone when they arrived. We could have a live-in Manny, Jamie said, while rubbing her growing belly. As long as he learns to flush, I said. After we moved in, it only got worse. A brawl in the park on Mother's Day, drug deals in the alleyway, and now the aftermath of a shooting, all seen from right where we were standing, all perched in front of the kitchen window. Finally, a male voice broke the scanner's silence. Drive-by shooting on 46th Avenue South and South Othello. 2 males down, both minors, both African American. Victim 1, 2 gunshots, 1 to the left thigh, 1 to the right calf. Victim 2, 1 gunshot, through and through, both thighs. EMT transporting to Harborview. That's all I got for now.